Hey everyone, welcome to our kind of 2020 beer retrospective. I didn't intend for that to be a pun with Retrospectrum being our first beer, but here we are. This is our 36th beer tasting. Over the last 35, we've tasted 138 different beers. We've tasted some absolute gems, and we've tasted some, well, let's just call it what it is, all the things. But out of that, I think we've definitely had some weird times, but we've really tasted some exceptional beers. And were these my absolute 4 favorite beers, no exceptions, that I had last year? No. There were some things that were out for a week, and we've pulled a flat aside just for the beer tasting. We managed to get it on the lineup, and then it was gone. I think by the time we actually tasted the Left My Wallet in El Segundo, I think it was already sold out. So now, on one hand, it's great having access to super limited stuff that, in a certain sense we shouldn't even have. But at the same time, having beers that sell out that quickly and, won't be back till, say, next summer, that makes it hard to have a full-on retrospective. So these are the 4 beers that I can get right now that really did kind of signify what 2020 was to me in beer. And you probably already noticed we kind of have the big 3 in Cabin, 88, and Establishment here. There is a bit of a plan behind that as well, but let's dig into that as we go. Let's start with the Cabin Retrospectrum. Now, I was talking with Aaron. I'm not 100% sure we actually did Retrospectrum as part of an actual beer tasting. I'm sure Craig's already typing out his angry comment that, oh no, you did it in week 9, and I remember it very well. But I don't specifically remember doing Retrospectrum, and that's a shame, because as much as I'm always talking about how Sunshine Rain is like my favorite cabin beer, and oh, well, I know everybody loves Super Sap, but what about Sunshine Rain? And I know you're all sick of hearing it. I do. But Retrospectrum quietly has been really creeping up in my estimation, just because it's so subtle, and I'm liking something a little less loud. I say as I, in about 10 minutes here, I'm going to name a super, super loud IPA is my favorite beer this year. But I really like how subtle this is. And I want to talk a little bit about this style of beer and about some of the more subtle things that I tasted this year and things I learned that made me appreciate that beer doesn't have to be absolutely screaming in your face loud. The first one that really does jump to mind is the number of really great Pilsners that we got this year. I know that I waxed really enthusiastic lately about the Tail Gunner Czech Pils, and rightly so. That's a beautiful beer. But if you think back to when we did Lager Week, we had those 2 absolutely cracking Vienna lagers from Snake Lake and from Annex. Those were tremendous beers. We had the Pontificato Pilsner that was absolutely rock star from SYC. And then, kind of the very first beer that, if it was something I could get, it would be here on the table, and that's Part-Time Model by Establishment. That New Zealand-style Pils that I think got brewed twice last year, both in spring, summer. What an absolutely stunning Pilsner. The other thing that really jumps out at me when I was thinking about this, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit more subtlety in beer, was how much I enjoyed Lager Week. I really came into that, having to do all the history and really researching, the way these styles came out and how much they brewed, because I was really afraid that when I poured the beer in the glass, there wasn't going to be that much to talk about, because they were going to be very simple, very clean styles that didn't have a lot going on. And then when we dug into them, I realized I was completely wrong and backward, and I think that tasting ended up running it a little bit long, just because I wanted to get that history out, because, I'd spent hours working on it. But more than that, I really love talking about the beers. And that kind of got me thinking a little bit. When I go to a new brewery that I've never had before and I'm trying the sample board, they usually have a blonde ale or a Pilsner or a Helles or something as the very first thing on the board. But it's there next to their Imperial Stout and their IPA and their 3 different sours and their Saison and their hopped wheat ale. It kind of gets a little bit lost. And I think I've perhaps been very unfair, and maybe over the years I've done this, skipped some really neat, little more subtle beers that really didn't deserve that. And I think in future I might order the sample board, but also get a pint of that entry-level lager just to see what's going on. I want this to be a really, really interactive event. I think I have the comments working on my phone. I'm about to test it. Nope, I don't. Great.
I don't have any here either.
Yeah, the comments have gotten worse. So one fun thing, Aaron's Revenge. All the Things has become my Star Wars Christmas special. That's great. And yeah, waiting on Retrospectrum, and rightly so, Eric, because I have waited on this one. Yeah, I also, without going back through 35 videos, which no thank you, I don't think I have. I know I did it as one of the SAAG events. I did Retrospectrum in there, but not as part of the core event. And yeah, Eric, for me too, like I spent the most time working on those and learning about those, but in the end, it was actually the beer that taught me more about lager than anything else. So one thing that we will have going into 2021 here is we are definitely going to have more subtle beer styles like that. Anybody else want to throw in their top 4 from this last year into the comments here? And good evening, Justin. Lovely to see you out again. Yeah, if they can't make a Pils, it's a sign. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad sign, because talking to a lot of the brewers, like making a Pils, talking to Shane at Blind Men, way back at the Blind Men week when we tasted the Five of Diamonds, you know, they spend more time fussing about with and worrying about their Five of Diamonds Pils than anything else. You talk to the folks at Establishment who make, yes, the part-time model, but they also make the Pilsner. And then what are the things they're always talking about? Well, you have to get the European Pilsner malt. You can't use the Canadian stuff. It just doesn't taste right. Pilsner seems to be one of the most difficult ones. And from my homebrewing days, I never even attempted a lager because, yeah, I was never good enough to actually think I could make it work out. And I would have been quite correct. I was never that good at it. You did read a ton for your hour frame, Craig. That was actually a lot of fun. Ooh, yeah. Kevin coming in with one I completely forgot existed. The Morning Pages Session Stout from Cabin. Yeah, that was great. I forgot all about that. Yeah, other stuff from Cabin that I should talk about. Well, we've got the Retrospectrum here. I mean, you'll be wildly unsurprised to hear me say the name Summer Saturation, my absolute favorite of the Saturation family, which has now grown to 7 beers. There's the regular Super Sat, there's a Summer Sat, Super Duper Sat, Red Can, just regular Sat, and then the 3 single saturations. They're up to 7 beers just in the Saturation family. Out of all of them, by far, it's the Summer for me. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And the other one that I really liked was actually the Cabin Morning Pages. I thought that was an exceptional beer. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into kind of Kyle's favorite IPAs of the year, which is kind of what we're going to talk about with the dial-up here. But yeah, Cabin put out some real crackers this year. I also really liked Black is Beautiful. I thought that was an exceptional stout that unfortunately came out in the hottest part of July. And I think if that had come out, I don't know, around Remembrance Day, it would have been gone in about a week, 10 days. But I didn't order that much. I think I only ordered 4 or 5 flats, and it just stuck around and stuck around and stuck around because everyone was like, I don't need a 7% stout in plus 35 weather. That's silly. But it was a great beer. It just came out at a weird time. Oh yeah, Mellow Gold. Yeah, I did talk a little bit about the Snake Lake and the Annex Vienna lagers, but that Mellow Gold from that lager tasting was an absolute star for me as well. That Hellas just blew me away, and honestly, so was the Czech Pil from Tailgunner. That was the 4th beer that week. I mean, really, in terms of lineup, what an all-star lineup we had that week. Not a single bad beer on it. We have top 4 here. If I missed any comments about Jim Miller's, I apologize. Open River Blue Bridge is a fantastic lager, as is the St. Joe's Abbey Brown. Also, anyone who bought the St. Joe's Abbey Brown in 4-pack cans since they came out, boy, did you get a deal. We discovered this morning that we've been ringing up the $16 4-packs as the $8.95 bombers, basically, since we got them. So we've managed to sell about 6 flats that way. We've lost money on every single 4-pack we sold, but boy, you guys got a good deal. Yeah, that was good. We found that out this morning. Jamrock and the stouts. Jamrock, lavender sour, anything guava, and the El Segundo. Yeah, guava had a bit of a year, didn't it? Like there was a really good guava sour from establishment, the Super Fusion. Yeah, we even had Guava Week. We had the Pink Popper. What else was on Guava Week?
I like the pink popper.
Yeah.
Habanero.
I think this was on the Guava Week, the strawberry guava. I've called this a strawberry rhubarb sour way more times than I can count. But yeah, it was great. The lavender was super interesting. I forgot that. That was by Moody Ales, and that was really neat. And they also had the pink flamingo one, the Flamingos, which was a citrus ghost of some description. I want to say it was grapefruit, but I can't remember. Oops. Probably have made this mistake again. I'll make this mistake several more times today. Ooh, an Oro Blanco. Yeah, like the very first sour to come out in 4-pack cans for this market, even before like the the Blind Man sour started coming out in 4-packs. We had the Oro Blanco. That was a good beer. All right, so let's jump into this beer. And I actually drove to Calgary just before Christmas, or just after Christmas, to be able to get 3 flats of this, because this was absolutely brewery release only for this 88. The dial-up was, to my palate, my favorite beer I had in 2020, period.
Oh, thanks.
Oh no, I'm not pouring it. This is just mine.
Oh, you're not
No,
pouring
fine.
it? Give me a break.
We have a second can of this.
That's good. Thanks.
So, this was my favorite beer, period. This is the one that I really wanted to talk about, and I drove up to Calgary, even though it was brewery only. I had to have it. I absolutely love dial-up. We again are completely sold out. Well, there's 2 4-packs hiding over there because I set a little extra aside for the tasting, so they'll go back on the shelf. But we're basically sold out again. The secret behind this is apparently white Tettnanger, or white Hallertau, as the finishing hop on this. And it finishes so pretty. It starts so citrusy and bright and like lemonade-y. You get it in the mouth. It doesn't have much bitterness. It's only 38 IBUs. The alcohol is reasonable, like 6.5 is about what you should get for an IPA these days. And I know I've been saying, oh, well, I'm sliding back to West Coast. East Coast isn't my thing anymore. No, this is shamelessly East Coast, but my God, what a beer. Like this is, you talk about a beer being made almost exactly to your palate. This is just my perfect IPA right now. And that's fine. I used to think that like Red Racer was a beer that was made exactly for my palate. And drinking it now, it just doesn't seem right. I'll probably be completely sick of this in 2 years. But I really loved this for 2020. This was easily my favorite IPA. And we had quite a few good ones. What was the Belgian collaboration from Annex? That was your Belgian things. It was Annex collaboration with Establishment, Eric. Yeah, the Lambic, which we'll never be able to do again because I had those bottles for a couple of years and they were really, really well aged and in really good shape. And we sold those a little bit of a loss just to get them out. But yeah, I don't think we could ever afford to do a Lambic again. That was a fun tasting too. We got that horrible curmudgeon Adam Harbaugh to come hang out with us. That was actually a lot of fun. Oh, Adam's fine. He says worse things about me on a daily basis. Oh, I'm so glad, Deirdre. I've really enjoyed doing this series. The wine, it's kind of funny. Like I do a lot of prep for both. Not so much for tonight. Actually, tonight more than anything, I really just kind of thought about what were the beers that I really liked that we don't have on the shelf anymore. And I kind of had to dig through my memory for things like Part-Time Model. The other one I really want to talk about for IPAs because it wasn't here very long. Annex's Original Echoes. And I remember this beer for a reason. That came out on a week where my trip down from Calgary was just ludicrous. Like I think I had 2 new ones from 88, 2 new ones from Establishment, 2 or 3 new ones from Cabin, and it all hit the shelf and it was this big thing. I think it was maybe also the week the first Establishment beer with one of Eric's labels on it came out. It was just like a huge week. And I did this big display of all these new beers and like the Original Echoes was in there. And we took a picture and posted on social media and all the beers started selling really well. And the Original Echoes, which I genuinely think might have been the best beer of that whole release, just because it was Annex and it kind of sounded weird being called Original Echoes, it just sat. I ended up drinking like a good chunk of that beer that came in. I loved the original Echoes. Great IPA. But it just got kind of lost in the shuffle, which I thought was really sad. As I mentioned, also very, very much the Seasons Past West Coast IPA from Cabin. Best IPA from Cabin, even slightly ahead of Summer Saturation. Aaron, what about you? Big IPAs this year for you?
I've been digging around. I'll have to come back to that.
All right, we'll come back to you.
That's not really where I'm at right now. I'm just like going back through all of our
Yeah.
featured.
We got one from Jackie here. Super Sat, Wart Whistle, great beer. Black is Beautiful, and the Ice Cutter by Snake Lake. I still have a little tiny bit of Ice Cutter, but that's not going to last. And yeah, Craig, that one's not going to be long for the world.
Where's the saturation? Weird beers.
Oh well, thank you, Megan. That's really kind of you. It's been a lot of, like I said, the wine tastings take a lot of research and a lot of work and a lot of like playing around. What did you do?
Nothing.
No?
Taco IPA.
Yeah.
Taco IPA.
Taco IPA. Forgot about that. And actually, that whole summer release series that Snake Lake did, I'll get back to my thoughts here in a sec, Megan. But that whole Snake Lake event, like with Brighter Horizons, Taco IPA, the Sun-Soaked Apricot, the Fieldberry Tart, Snake Lake just had a heck of a summer. Like they had a good year for us, yeah. But yeah, thank you. I think this is my third time trying to finish this thought. The wine tastings are very serious. They take a lot of time to work through them. The beer tastings, they're just a little more fun. Like they're very relaxed. It's always the same crowd. It, to a certain point, kind of feels like sitting around a big table full of friends. And I can occasionally, like especially if I've got a bigger guest, be a little nervous about the wine tastings. I don't feel nervous about these. I just show up, we get on camera, we do our thing for an hour, and then Aaron and I blast rock and roll while we tear down all the video equipment, which is its own thing.
Four Winds Juxtapose.
Oh yeah, Four Winds Juxtapose. I was gonna say Four Winds till we got out the Jamboree,
Right.
because I kind of wanted to do like the big circle of like breweries that weren't Cabin or 88 or Establishment that we did really well with, and I'd like to talk about more. But yeah, I was gonna say Four Winds for that. But yeah, the Four Winds. Yeah, that Juxtapose IPA was absolutely fantastic as well. Forgot about that one. Also, we had 3 separate versions of Skyrocket this year, and that's just a reliably good IPA.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, Echoes got, oh, boo, Eric. Echoes got lost in the noise. Oh, you made me say it on camera, too. Top 4 in no order, Nana by Godspeed, the Paranapple Imperial Pumpkin Ale by Flying Monkeys. I'm really not a pumpkin beer person. I'm just not. But I do enjoy that one. That one's quite all right. I had 2 cans this year. It was all right. Super Saturation, absolutely. The 25th end by Russell Brewing. I haven't had that, but I do like Russell Brewing, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't any good. Oh yeah, I now apparently if we have people already confirming that 25th anniversary double IPA, I gotta go find that. It's probably already long sold out, if it is long sold out, it's probably no longer fresh. But that's all right. I'll maybe get their next anniversary IPA. I'm trying to think if anybody else had an IPA that really floored me. SYC had some good stuff, but their styles weren't all IPA all the time. Oh, I'm missing the elephant in the room. I'm missing the beer that probably I drank more of by far than any other beer this year, which would be 88's Wave Pool. It's no coast IPA. It's a little bit east, it's a little bit west, and just what a great IPA. And I definitely had more Wave Pool than I did anything else this year, just because it's so reliably excellent to come back to. And also Forward Progress by Annex, which was not a beer like Force Majeure was always like the beer we sold, and Meat and Some Bounds is their experimental, and Original Echoes was so cool, but Forward Progress, yeah. Really, really came to like that beer this year.
Mm-hmm. What was one you were disappointed in?
Disappointed in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the hit because we still have a little on the shelf. I really wanted that Rivals series, the Duel by OT, to be better.
We spent a whole
tasting on that because I I respected OT so much that I thought, oh, the beers are going to be fine. Like, I really like 500. I've had some other stuff in them. Like, I liked their American Mild. I liked their 180. I was like, you know what? I trust them. Like, I would trust 88 or Cabin or anybody else. This is going to be great. It's going to be super classic East Coast versus West Coast. And then they got here, and I was just like, oh. Well, I built this up and talked about this. Now we have to do it. Shit. That was probably my biggest disappointment overall with the whole beer tastings. That week just didn't pan out at all. Anything else I was really disappointed in? One thing that I thought about a little bit this week, and this is not a slight to them at all, I don't think I have a Blind Man beer on my list this year. And I will say that the Wet and Dry Hop IPA, which I thought was nice, wasn't as good as I really hoped it would be. I never had like a Blind Man seasonal this year. I thought was absolutely out of this world, and I think that's a little sad. They made some very good beers. I particularly like the new version of Florida Ice they've got out right now, but yeah, I didn't have anything from Blind Man this year that like blew my socks off. I don't think. If anybody's now going back and saying, Kyle, in week 4 when you did Blind Man, you said this beer ruled. I have clearly forgotten that. So, but yeah, I was talking with Aaron before we went on camera, like, did you have something in Blind Man this year that really blew you away? And we kind of decided no, we didn't. Also kind of the death of Wild Rose a little bit. Like, we've carried Wild Rose since the very beginning when they came in those giant 1 liter like swing top bottles. And yeah, just they've kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, which is a little sad. Snake Lake Shift Change, really? I actually haven't had the Snake Lake Shift Change yet. Peanut Butter Stout, yeah, that beer was really cool. The Cannery Oatmeal Stout was really good, and I will say I don't think we did it because we couldn't get a second flat of it. We only ever got a flat, and by the time we realized how good it was, we'd already sold some. But the Cannery Heist, their Maple Stout, I heard the word maple stout and I was thinking it's going to be way too sweet and sugary and I'm going to hate it and it's just going to be nasty. No, it was actually surprisingly dry. Like, the maple was definitely there. It was definitely sweet, but the maple stout was really good. But I think we only ever got the one flat, and I don't think we ever got the chance to do it on beer tasting. Social candy was a big part of your COVID summer in the front yard. Yeah, social candy's good. I'll also put was it Strange Powers and Float Along with the other double IPAs in the white cans from Establishment. I'd say that whole series from them has been very good. Devin particularly dislikes anything in a high alcohol double IPA. Very intensely dislikes, actually. And he actually has said a couple of those beers from them, in particular, I think actually the Social Candy was actually drier and less boozy than he expected it to be. And he's the biggest disliker of double IPAs in the world, so if you can make one he actually likes, I think that's very impressive. Now, I know I've been on a bit of a mission to make these tastings a little less IPAs and sours. And of course, inevitably, my best of ended up being IPAs and sours. But let's jump into the sour side here with the Jamboree. A very aggressively carbonated can of Jamboree. Now, I will admit, this is a beer that took me absolutely by storm. I knew Two Crows by reputation. We brought in the Pollyanna IPA once or twice, and it was a very nice beer. But this strawberry guava, this absolutely blew us away. It was, without a doubt, one of the biggest hits we had in early summer. This could not stay on the shelf. We were phoning the Two Crows rep because we couldn't keep this in stock. Like, we were saying, well, can we take like 10 flats? Are you sending any over? And she's like, I don't know who you are and why are you bothering me? This, of course, was Morgan, who ended up joining us for a couple of beer tastings. And that's how we got to know Morgan, how we actually ended up doing a Two Crows event. Was me basically hassling her for more Jamboree. But this was something where, yeah, I heard that too. Apparently we've got a ghost. This was something that really, really blew us away.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a bit carbonated. You almost dumped it on the expensive computer equipment, didn't you?
Did.
Nice. Oh, Dat Juice. Yeah, how could I forget? I mean, I guess I forget because it's been around for a few years now. But yeah, Dat Juice by Twin Sails was really exceptional. And I don't know if we'll get it on a beer tasting just because there isn't very much of it. But they did a new version of Dat Juice called Juice Plus, just came out. It's stupidly expensive. It'd be like $25 a 4-pack, so I've got it over in the singles fridge. But that's like Dat Juice, but even bigger. And that just came out. Don't know if we'll see it on the tasting, A, because it's expensive, and B, because I don't know if I can get another flat of it. But that's really, really neat, and that is brand new. Ooh, who do I think was the best craft brewery of 2020? And you qualified it for Alberta, okay. I'm gonna shortlist it down to 4. And with full respect to Blind Man, I don't think they had a new seasonal this year that blew me away, and that's gonna be the dividing line between them and Annex. So it's gonna come down to Cabin, 88, Establishment, and Annex. And, okay, the guy with the Establishment glass who shamelessly calls Establishment their favorite brewery, I'm gonna go with Establishment, and I'm gonna go with it for this reason. I'm gonna go because of Left My Wallet in El Segundo was the only smoked sour I've ever had. Aaron and I both absolutely loved it. If it was something I could get right now, it would be on the table instead of Jamrock. To a certain point, the reason that Jamrock is here, which is not a beer that came out this year, Jamrock is basically here because I really want this to be Left My Wallet in El Segundo. They did Part-Time Model, which was basically my favorite beer of the first half of 2020. Afternoon Delight and Skyrocket are just IPAs that are exactly what I like. And then more than that, they've been so incredibly good to deal with. I've gotten to know Dave Ronneberg and the rest of the folks at the brewery fairly well. And they're just the most wonderful people. You know, whenever you bring in a new winery or you bring in a new brewery, it's like, well, I hope these people don't do something horrible and turn out to be, you know, complete dicks and make a giant mess on social media and we can't sell their stuff in good conscience. I can never see that happening with Establishment because there's just really salt of the earth, nice people. And more than that, I don't think I've had a bad beer from them, both in their 4-pack series and also in their 750 ml series. They've been rolling out the hits. I'd say the only beer this year from them that I wasn't like really sold on, probably the Autobahn, because I don't like Dunkel, just period. It's not my style of beer, and theirs is another Dunkel in a style I don't like already because it's very faithful and true to style, and I don't like the style, so I'm probably not going to like the beer. I will say that I think that Cabin had a couple of real misses for me this year. There was some stuff I really was not super sold on. I've never liked Super Duper Saturation. I think most of the other versions of it are a little nicer. As quickly as it sold out, I didn't really care for Starburst. I thought it was a little too alcohol-y. I haven't had anything like that with Establishment this year. So, you know, they've taken certainly some risks. They haven't just played it safe, but they've definitely pushed the envelope, but still managed to make entirely tasty beer. Top non-Alberta beer. Ooh, that's tough. I mean, the Godspeeds are right there. The Godspeeds are really right there. You know what? I'm going to stick with sour, and I'm actually going to go back to Four Winds. I'm going to say the Nectarous dry hop sour, which was actually, it was between Nectarous and Jamboree. And the only reason I ended up coming down on Jamboree was just how much of a thing this became in early summer and just how hard this beer became to get, whereas we could always get Nectarous. That kind of gave me a little more to talk about with Jamboree. But if you gave me, you know, here's a can of Jamboree, here's a can of Nectarous, I'll bet 3 times in 5 I'm taking the Nectarous, to be perfectly honest with you. Are we that early? Oh, we're halfway through and we're only on beer 3. We're fine, probably. Do you have anything above Chris Hunt's comment?
About what?
I have Chris Hunt giving us his list of 4.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything above that.
Yeah,
Anything I haven't already answered?
Just keep going and I'll...
Okay, good enough. Chrysalis Julia from Dandy, the Good Authority from Annex, the Hoppy Heifer from Fart, which was an excellent beer, and the limited edition Canadian Lager from Molson. No comment. Top 4 beer tastings in no particular order. Halfway to Belgium, Old Man River Brewing, Two Crows, and Single Sat. Yeah, the Single Sat, that was a fun one. That was one of my favorites I think I've done this year too. I'm trying to think what else we did this year that was really, really offbeat and off the wall. I liked the Belgium one we did with Adam Harbaugh just because of how dry Adam's sense of humor is and how clearly he didn't want to be doing this, and I'd entirely talked him into it, and he was just there almost spitefully. Cider Week was great.
Eric wants to know whether you've... there was the Two Crows flat batch.
Oh, the Two Crows flat batch, yeah, that can. Yeah. I think we've got them sitting in a box in the back. I haven't bothered returning them yet because I went through Christmas, but yeah, I've got to make a phone call on those.
So we've forgiven them, or what's the what here?
Oh, we've forgiven them. You know what? Everybody makes a mistake. Two Crows...
They don't make a lot of mistakes.
They don't make a lot of mistakes by and large, and everybody gets one.
Yeah.
You know? I will say, you know, I actually think that... and yes, Aaron's favorite promo. Aaron's favorite promo. I actually think that the Collective Arts tasting was going very well till we hit all the things. I think we had some really neat beers. A Stranger in Fiction.
As soon as we
sure.
All the things.
That's probably my actual favorite tasting of the year. We occasionally still pull up the highlights of that. Aaron's going to throw the link up for that again. Because, yeah, it's... the first 3 beers aren't all that interesting, but when we get to all the things, my God, it goes off the rails. I think that's the only one I really like watching after the fact is that one. Oh yeah, Nectarine Dream. See, and Kevin liked Audubon, yeah. And I'm just plain not a Duncan. Oh, Marina, yes, the strong beer tasting, the hot mess tasting. That was actually a lot of fun. Oh, the Port Moody week. Yeah, Port Moody was great. We did, what did we do that week? We did Twin Sails, we did Moody Ales, and we did someone else. Yeah, we did 3 breweries that week. I can remember 2 out of the 3.
Port Moody? What the hell was that? Before or after Two Crows?
Bloody hell if I know. I think it was before Two Crows. Yeah, the single set release really was a love letter to... Oh, yeah. Labor Party, I forgot out. That was really good, too. And yes, I've forgiven Collective Arts. They made 3 out of 4 really nice beers, and they've made good beers for years. Okay, so let us pull these aside for just a minute. We'll talk about what we got coming up.
All right.
So... we have a wine tasting, a very similar format to tonight. Every year since 2004, when our very first ever wine of the year was Starved Dog Lane Australian Sauv Blanc. What a long, strange 16 years, 17 years it's been since then. We have done a top 10 list. Our 10, not best wines. Best is a really difficult term to nail down, especially when we carry a winery called Bests. Best wine would be very difficult. These are our 10 most influential, most interesting, best value for dollar wines, or wines that taught us something. Like Clint basically was the wine that told us that, hey, these online tastings are going to be a thing that maybe catches on, because we only got 5 cases of Clint the first time around. And the wine tasting that week actually oversold. We sold out of Clint, and a lot of people actually took 3 bottles of wine home that week for the South African week because we couldn't get enough Clint. These are wines that, these are the direction the store's going. These are things that sold very well. These are things that we love more than anything else. They're wines that we just love, couldn't stop talking about, and think are really important to the store, our identity, and everything else. And we're going to taste our top 4. We've come up with 5 through 10. We've got them basically ranked. We argued about it a bit, but we have them basically ranked. The top 4, we agreed what needed to be in the top 4, but we're going to leave the rankings up to you. I'm going to have a vote. Aaron's going to have a vote, but our votes are worth the same as yours. We're going to collect the votes as they come in, and we're going to pick a wine of the year, a runner-up, and then 3 and 4 in some order on Friday night.
Cool.
And we are going to have the special guest that has been the hardest to get, the hardest to talk into the entire time. Devin Smith is going to join us.
What?
Live on camera, the man who said he would never do an online tasting.
I don't believe this.
I know. He said, you better never get sick because I'm not doing it. But he's joining us for this one.
God, you gave me a heart attack.
I know.
It's like, who the hell haven't I contacted?
No, it's not that. He's going to be right here. He's going to be live on camera with us. So, yeah, Devin's going to join us, and he's going to walk us through this. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, $80 to the lineup. That's going to be Friday night. So, yeah, 2 reds, a white, and a rosé. And really, what we think is our 4 best wines in the store in some order. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Next week, we actually have a real special guest that's going to be on Skype, so I've actually told Aaron about it. So he's not freaking out 2 days out that he doesn't have any of the contact information for this guest that I just sprung on him in the middle of a live event. So our guest next week is Mike Maxwell, who is the Alberta importer for Great Lakes Brewery. Now, if you're not familiar, Great Lakes Brewery, when we talk about like the foundational, Canadian craft breweries, of course we talk about Big Rock, we talk about Unibrew. You could certainly make a case for Granville Island. But Ontario has one of those in Great Lakes Brewing, who got started in 1987. Now, they probably didn't make a beer called Citradiction or a Session Stout or anything like that. But they were there. They were there in 87. They've been quietly keeping pace with the craft beer scene. And, as much as you might want to say that, Big Rock or Unibrew or Granville Island perhaps haven't kept up with that bleeding edge of craft brewing, by all accounts, Great Lakes really has. Like, they have this New England style Citra, Super Citra like IPA or XPA. That's really cool. The Octopus Wants to Fight is apparently one of the best IPAs brewed in Eastern Canada. Session Stout's a style that really didn't exist until 2 years ago. And the Canuck Pale is apparently like their best selling like core beer. So I'm really excited because this isn't a brewery that I'm all that familiar with. It's a brewery we've talked a little tiny bit about. When we talked to Blake from Tail Gunner, he actually worked at Great Lakes for a little bit, I believe. And Morgan Rattray, I believe, talked about Great Lakes a little bit as well. So something we've talked about, but not something I've ever tasted. I'm not saying I won't try one of these in the intervening week, but I'm going into this fairly cold. So I know them by reputation. Mike Maxwell, the importer, is going to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's next week. So that will be really, really interesting. So, new week, right back to our madness like we always have been. Let's get some fresh comments up here. Jim Miller always seems to somehow be the cutoff for my comments. So if anyone has a comment right before Jim Miller's what was your favorite wheat beer of 2020, please repost it because I can't see it because my phone is.
Asked for a list of all the tastings.
A list of all the tastings.
We can compile.
You're gonna.
Do
you want?
we've tasted.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it right now.
No, we're not doing it this second.
But I could.
I don't think I could name half of them.
No.
No.
I have them all in a list somewhere.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, we can definitely do something like that. My favorite wheat beer this year kind of comes down to 2 right off the top of my head. Two Crows, actually, that Fantasity Wit, which I loved but didn't sell worth a damn, so we don't actually have on the shelves right now. That was fantastic. And 88's Hologram, which I consider to be an absolutely spectacular, like lightly hoppy wheat beer. Excuse me. That was absolutely delicious, and I've been saying that that's, along with Wavepool, like 2 of the top beers from 88, like basically since it came out. I absolutely love that beer. And not because it's a little bit hoppy, it's a great wheat beer. It's a perfect summer crusher. So one of those 2. If I'm going to give the nod to something just slightly to Fantasity, I just wish it sold better. Yellow Dog was really fun. You're swooning for the labels. I do like the labels of Great Lakes. They do a pretty fun job on those.
Probably do that.
Big Rock could have had a lot of stories. Actually, it just didn't work out that way. Okay, so we're gonna get to Jamrock, which could be a placeholder for Superfusion. It could be a placeholder for 2 Tickets to Paradise, the almost mythical mango sour that was here for about 2 hours, it seems like. And it could be a placeholder for Left My Wallet in El Segundo, which is a absolutely fantastic beer as well, because let's be fair, Establishment has done some absolutely spectacular sours this year. Now, if we start digging into favorite sours, yeah, we do, again, have to talk about the Nectarus again. And then it's a little bit confusing. Like, I don't know who else has really had a lot of sours. I mean, I really like the 88 Duotang. I thought that's great for, well, since we brought it in. And I'm really glad somebody reminded me of the Port Moody Flamingos and the Lavender Sour, but I'm coming up a little bit blank on what other sours we had this year that I really remember as being like showstoppers. Somebody else want to jump in on this?
Me.
Yeah, please go ahead. You go ahead, Aaron.
Cucumber Hippie.
Cucumber Hippie was great, yeah.
8-wired. That's one of my favorite damn beers of the year.
Actually, yeah, 8-wired Cucumber Hippie I completely forgot about, and that was great.
too.
And so was the Cabin Coolaz, their cucumber beer from the summer.
Sure.
That was also really good.
Oh man, I forgot about that one.
Has Great Lakes been in the store this whole time? No. Fun story with that. Devin and I got an email. We were sitting around literally this Monday morning having coffee, kind of picking away at the liquor order, and we got an email just out of the blue. Hey, there's a new Great Lakes shipment. It's available now. It'll be sold out in a couple days. Order now. So like Devin emailed the guy, said, hey, we'll take a flight of this, and this. If you'll like join us for a Wednesday night beer tasting. The guy said, yeah, we'll do that. And that's how it happens. Sometimes a lot of prep goes into it. Sometimes it's Monday and we're both just coming off 3 days off and having coffee, and it's just time to get a beer tasting put together. So that was not a real high effort one, but we managed to land a guest in about like 10 minutes, which was really nice. Oh, John's friend from undergrad is a water recycling engineer at Great Lakes. We meet the most interesting people, which is just fascinating. An annotated coffee table book of all the tastings. Oh god, I mean that sounds like a lot of fun to put together. It also sounds like hell to put together.
I have no idea.
You're right, sometimes we do, in some ways we're very good at advertising, like Aaron's content is brilliant obviously, but in some ways we're really not great at talking about things that we love that maybe other people should love as well. Things like the top 10 I think are really great within the store, but yeah, we don't really spend a lot of time, largely because I don't like it. I'm very, like in my personal life, anti-advertising. I find advertising really annoying. I think YouTube's new program where you get 2 non-skippable ads instead of 1 is just awful. I don't know, I don't like advertising personally, so we don't do very much of it, and as a result of it, we're quite bad at it. And that's, you know, as a company, perhaps we probably should be better, but I really hate it. So that kind of is a top-down thing, and that's largely on me. Speaking of artwork, a thing that now that we're in January, we have lots of big projects we're going to be working on. We're redoing our sake section. We're going to redo our vermouth section. We desperately need to redo our Argentina section. Actually, we started on that today with adding 4 new wines. But the other thing, actually, that is going to be happening here next week / week after is I am finally, Eric, they've been done for long enough. Eric did us all new signage for all of our sections in the store. So all of our in-house signage for our countries and our rosés and our orange wines and our everything. All of that is finally getting printed and actually getting put up now that we are at the point where I have 5 minutes to rub together in a row. So that is a project that I will have done here very shortly. I think we forgot to request a couple countries, so we'll get on that with you well, really want to figure out exactly which things we missed. But yeah, we will have that coming up very, very shortly. We did not forget Canada. I know we did not forget Canada. And I agree that word of mouth is better than advertising, and it's just, I don't know, I'm not an advertising person. I just personally have a huge distaste for it. So yeah, that was kind of my top beers. I mean, let's talk a little bit about Jamrock since it's actually the beer in our glasses. I know that we kind of have it as a placeholder for 3 other sours, or specifically 2 in the 2 tickets and the Left My Wallet. But you know what? Jamrock's no slouch, and I've got to think that of all of the beers that I drive down from Calgary on like a week-to-week basis, it's either Supersat or Jamrock has been the biggest success out of the store this year. I mean, Supersat's been huge for us. And if you take all the variations of saturation, it's Supersat by a mile. But Jamrock hasn't had a lot of variations. There's just been Jamrock. I mean, they might someday do a barrel-aged Jamrock, or they'll probably call it something else. There might already be one that's like that in their glass bottle series, but Jamrock's just there, and it's always excellent, and it's just been such a gateway beer to sours for so many people because that little touch of vanilla just, it takes off that hard, sharp, kind of overly tart edge that a lot of sours have, and it just makes the beer immediately more welcoming and more warm and more just everybody can enjoy this. When I first tasted this came out actually as the winter seasonal for Establishment, and then just like Ring Pop for 88, it got so much bigger than they could really manage, and it had to go year round. But this was supposed to be like a kind of Christmas cranberry and vanilla. It's very warming. It's very, seasonally appropriate for the holidays. And then it just got so huge that they kind of had to do it year round. And I still remember it being that idea, and it seems so mad to me now that it's just like something I now don't even think about. I just pick it up. It's a year round thing for me. And it's just delightful. It's not the most sour thing in the world, but the fruit's right there. The vanilla you would pick up without having to be told about it. There's no soapiness, there's no acetic acid, there's no struck match, which is something that definitely can afflict sours. I actually got a little tiny bit of it off this batch of Jamboree. If you want to go back and look for it, there's a distinct notice struck match on that. There's none of that with Jamrock. And as many times as I've had Jamrock on tap in 4-packs, I bet I've had just because it sells so fast, I bet I've had an example of every single batch of Jamrock made at Establishment this last year come through the store at some point. Never had anybody complain, never had anything that came back. Which sours, it happens. No matter how reliable the sour, it does occasionally come back. Not with Jamrock. It's just very safe and very reliable. It's a real testament that sours can be a beer for everyone, which 3 years ago I would never have told you that. I would say, oh, well, sours are always going to be this tiny category that's going to be just for the nerds. No, sours really just open up this whole world to people that I never would have expected. And yeah, Jamrock is an absolute masterpiece, and we should have talked about it a little bit. It shouldn't be our placeholder for Left My Wallet. It's a beer that deserves to stand on its own, and it does. Still giving the award to this, because I'm an IPA homer I'm an absolute IPA homer to the bone. I'm never going to change. I'm never going to get better. But I got to say, I'm not going to be sad if I have another can of Jamrock at some point here in the very immediate future. I also think Jamrock's a little better on tap. I also don't like putting sours on tap because you really have to do bad, harsh chemical things to the beer lines to keep everything on that tap from being sour from that point forward. I've thought about creating a dedicated sours tap, but yeah, I don't like putting sours on the growler station you basically have to run, well, not even basically, you have to run bleach through the lines to actually clean them after you do a sour. I don't really love doing that, so... do sours sell better in summer than winter? Yes, massively, probably 2 or 3 times. IPAs kind of sell year-round. Dark beers really only sell in winter. Pilsners oddly do shockingly well in spring and early summer, and then kind of die back into midsummer and fall. Sours, it's a hot weather beer. It really and truly is, and it sells really well on like long weekends. It's become kind of like the craft beer drinkers, like, I'm just going to go out and play frisbee golf, and I don't want something high alcohol. I want something refreshing and delicious. in some respects, it's almost straddling the line between like beer and into the refreshment category, except it's not horrifying and gross like a White Claw. I don't want to demean sours in that sense, but they do have a little bit of crossover appeal with that market, just because you can get something that, yes, it's a beer, but it also tastes a lot more like blackberry and vanilla than it does, you know, a beer, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Well, Aaron, I think we have well and truly kind of run out of things to talk about, unless you have your absolute, you know, king of the hill favorite beer of the year last year. Is it the Cucumber Hippie, or is it something else?
No, that was my summer jam. The dial-up's fantastic. I crushed a shit pile of Duotang, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the Duotang. I drank the hell out of that.
We need to do a event here, maybe just a sours event, that's basically a love letter to Duotang, because I think of all the 88 beers, it's probably the slowest selling. We're out of it right now.
Right?
But Duotang's absolutely fantastic. We may have to build a tasting that's a love letter to Duotang, because it deserves it.
Yeah, I love Duotang.
Because this week wasn't enough shameless homerism. We need a specific beer tasting that's just a love letter to one of the 4 beers. Or it's just, you know, everybody buys a 4-pack of Duotang, we stand around and drink it.
Sure.
That would also work. But no, I feel like that would be a bad tasting. Less than entirely educational. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. I'll quickly check the comments one last time. My awful, awful phone that doesn't update comments. What's the reason you need to bleach the lines? Because of the wild yeasts in the sour beers. They will, once they're introduced in the line, any beer that sits in the line even overnight is going to be slowly souring. And the standard like sanitizer cleanser that we run through the lines is designed specifically to kill Saccharomyces cerevisiae, or sweet yeast. It's not optimized to kill the whole broad spectrum of wild yeasts that are in a sour, and also not to kill like lactobacillus or pediococcus, the other major souring ingredients in most sour ales. Well, pedio's mostly only in lambic, but yeah, it's just not optimized for it. So when you do a sour, you really have to go to town on the lines to get them actually cleaned again, so that your IPA doesn't taste a little too cidery, which is not good for anyone. What do you get? Jamrock. Craig's ranking 2, 3, 1, 4. I mean, feels a little mean to put Jamrock last, but I guess it's a strong lineup. We have Justin as 3, 2, 4, 1. Dave and Krista as 4, 3, 2, 1. Direct inverse order. Cool. Deanna's 4 and 3. Cool. 1, 4, 2, 3. I really don't have an argument with that. Like, if you want to go 1, 4, 2, 3, like, these are 4 of my favorite beers. You're not breaking my heart on any of these. 4, 3, 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2. I'm loving how many people have my beer of the year dead last, and you know what? That's absolutely fine. That actually makes me very happy.
Nice.
Happy new beer, everyone. You're very lucky I read that on the air, because that's a terrible pun. 4, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1. Yeah, like it's a complete mixed bag. I don't think we have anything. I mean, maybe. I really don't think we have I don't think we have anything even close to a consensus. I've seen every single beer as somebody's favorite of the 4 tonight, and that shows a strong lineup. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I think we had a really good mixed bag of beers tonight, and next week we'll jump into it with Great Lakes, and off we go for 2021. On to the next, and on to bigger and brighter things. So yeah, for Andrew Hilton Wine and Spirits, I'm Kyle. This has been our 2020 retrospective, and yeah, that was fun. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday night.